Black Knight Tales. The Broken Ritual. The town of Blackwood was a secluded and shadowy place where fog veiled the cobblestone streets and stone houses. There lived Jackson, an obsessed entomologist who had dedicated his life to studying venomous insects, seeking the secret of immortality. He had lost his wife and son to an incurable disease, and since then, he had secluded himself in his laboratory, surrounded by jars, microscopes, and rare specimens. In the same town, but at the opposite end, stood the Mercy Orphanage, a grim, gray building where orphan children were treated harshly and cruelly by the nuns who ran it. There lived Caroline, a 12-year-old girl who had a strange affinity with spiders. She talked to them, petted them, and wove dresses for them with their own threads. Other children avoided her and called her a witch, and the nuns punished her frequently. One day, Jackson received a letter from an old friend of his, an archaeologist who had discovered ruins in the forest near the town. He wrote that he had found ancient engravings that spoke of an ancestral ritual that could open a portal between the world of the living and the world of the dead. He asked Jackson to come see him as soon as possible, believing he had found the key to overcoming death. Jackson didn't hesitate for a moment. He packed his things and set off for the forest, carrying his case with his most precious insects. On the way, he encountered Caroline from the orphanage, who had escaped taking advantage of the distraction of the nuns. Caroline held a black spider with a red mark on its abdomen in her hand. "Where are you going?" the entomologist asked, intrigued by the creature. "To see my friends," Caroline replied, pointing to the forest. "Your friends? Who are they?" "The spiders. They take care of me and tell me things." "What things?" "Things about the ritual." "What ritual?" "The ritual that will open the portal." Jackson was perplexed. How did this girl know about the ritual? What connection did she have with the spiders? He decided to take her with him to the forest, thinking she might help him find his friend and decipher the mystery. Thus began the adventure of both characters, who would soon discover that the ritual was much more dangerous than they had imagined. The archaeologist had been killed by hooded men who intended to complete the ritual to release supernatural creatures that had been trapped for centuries in another dimension. These creatures were the ancient gods of the town, monstrous and bloodthirsty beings that demanded human sacrifices to feed. Jackson and Caroline set out to stop the ritual. Finally, they arrived at the place where the ritual was to be performed, a deep and dark cave with a circle of stones inscribed with strange symbols. There were the hooded men, with daggers in their hands and children tied in the center. They were the children from the orphanage who had been kidnapped to be offered as sacrifices. Jackson and Caroline launched their attack, armed with their insects and spiders. The insects stung and bit the hooded men, causing them pain and confusion. The spiders wove a web that trapped some of them and injected them with their venom. Jackson and Caroline managed to free the children and break the circle of stones, interrupting the ritual. But it wasn't that easy. The supernatural creatures had sensed the call of the ritual and had approached the portal. Furious at the interruption, they tried to cross the threshold, unleashing a burst of light and energy that shook the cave. Jackson and Caroline confronted them. The insects and spiders attacked the supernatural creatures. They stung, bit, entangled, and weakened them. Jackson and Caroline seized the opportunity and ran toward the portal. They knew it was their only chance to stop the ritual. They held hands and jumped into the portal. They didn't know what awaited them on the other side, but they were willing to risk it all. Upon entering the portal, they felt unbearable pain, as if their bodies were tearing apart. They saw horrible images of other worlds, other beings, other realities. And then, everything turned black. Suddenly, the portal closed, and an overwhelming emptiness preceded a massive explosion. The cave collapsed, and the orphanage children died, crushed by the rocks. The hooded men managed to escape,